Who are you? What you doing?
I'm an American film director. My name is Samuel Fuller. I'm here to make a picture in Paris called Flowers of Evil.
C'est Monsieur Samuel Fuller. C'est un Américain, c'est un producteur de cinéma. Il est là pour faire les fleurs du mal.
Pour le dire, c'est bien.
In Pierrot le Fou, Jean-Luc Godard gave Sam Fuller the chance to express his philosophy of the cinema. It was also his philosophy of life.
He wants to know exactly what this movie is.
Well, a film is like a battleground.
C'est comme une bataille, film.
It's love,
L'amour,
hate,
la haine,
action,
l'action,
violence,
la violence
death.
et la mort.
In one word, emotions.
The director's job is to see that the finished story, the finished film and the finished story is what excited him in the first place. That's number one.
In a Sam Fuller movie, the action was always sudden, not deeply motivated or richly explained. The idea was always to shock complacent expectation, to put us melodramatically in touch with base, heedless, and bloody impulse.
Why did you tip the cops, Griff?
What is a hook? A hook is what the story is. S-T-O-R-Y.
You got fingers like an artist. Soft and smooth.
In my business, I gotta keep them that way. When they stay empty, they get nervous. Come on.
How'd you get to be a pickpocket?
How did I get to be a pickpocket? How'd you get to be what you are? Things happen, that's all.
I rehearse, and I shoot once. And I like it. It's like writing a story. You don't play around with too much on a newspaper. My God.
That's the way. Now you can go in. Go on, you're getting paid for it.
The heat of the story is what I'm interested in. And as the heat gets hotter, hopefully, you now begin to see where you are. Then you begin to see who is what, and then you begin to see what are they doing.
Now you'll live, Smitty. You're the tripwire of the mind. They're not designed to kill you, just to castrate you. Castrate me? Hey, here it is. I found it. Oh my God! Just one of your balls, Smitty. You can live without it. That's why they gave you it, too.
If hunch is wrong, your hunch was wrong. That's all. And you fall on your face. And we go by hunch. I go by hunch. If the thing smells right. I never thought I'd be in the picture business, number one, ever. I love movies, from Bill Hart and Jack Hoxsey and Tom Mix.
His first love was newspapering. He was a copy boy on the New York Journal at 13, a full-fledged crime reporter at 17, a pulp novelist at 24. The work schooled his instinct for the jugular. Long, decorated service in World War II taught him more about the violence and chaos of the world. He expressed those ideas in dozens of movies, most of them low budget, many of them dismissed by their first reviewers, but redeemed through the years by the growing admiration of cinephiles and cineasts around the world. But Sam never forgot his roots. In 1952, he made Park Row, a harshly romantic tribute to the beginnings of the penny press in 19th century New York.
Here's the papers, Mr. Mitchell.
What's in?
Can I help?
Yep, you might as well start learning how to sort by type now. It means when your type is a mixed-up mess. There'll be no time before you handle a hell box.
What's that?
This is a hell box. Everything is thrown in it. It'll be your job cleaning it up. And that's why you're called the printer's devil. Because you'll be living out of the hell box.
My love was a byline in a newspaper. It was the biggest thrill I've ever had in my life. I think if you know what I mean, it'll never be repeated again, even on a book. Cannot be.
Park Row idealized smash-and-grab journalism and its populist audience. Sam invested $200,000 of his own money in the picture and lost it all when it flopped. He didn't care. He might miss newspapering, but he was a full-time movie maker by now. He'd begun writing beat picture stories in the 1930s while still a crime reporter. Both required the same twist-your-arm skills.
People would call for original stories. And if they asked me to do a script, what do I know about a script? It's the same thing as anything else, except what they wanted to know is, what are the meat and potatoes? What's the story about? And you can decorate it any way you want. So I got a lot of calls while I was on newspapers. They're easy to write is what I'm trying to bring out. It's nothing to do with the big head or art.
He returned from the war wanting to direct his own screenplays, and he got his first chance to do so in 1949. It was Robert Lippert, then a low-flying independent producer, who gave Sam his shot. They shared a taste for simple, hard-hitting stories.
We made a deal, and he mentioned the figure, and I said, that's too much. That's too much. I don't get that much for a script. He said, that's not for the script, that's for the whole movie.
I Shot Jesse James paid Sam $5,000 as writer-director, but his Jesse was not the Robin Hood of movie legend. And Robert Ford, his killer, is played sympathetically.
Now, Jesse Whitson James, you see, was not a hero at all. Ever. He and his brother, Frank James, the first job they had, I have the newspaper in Hollywood, they held up a hospital train, military train, killed the wounded and robbed them. That's number one. Number two, when he was 16, he was a girl impersonator. I've got the picture of the House of Love. He would dress as a girl. He would entice soldiers in there, and his brother Frank would kill them. Get them drunk. This is legitimate now. And I don't want to blow or break any bubble. I love fairy tales. I love them. And if I were a kid, I don't want to see Jesse James like that. If they did the true story of Bonnie and Clyde, they made them heroic, forced into it, a little bit offbeat, but all that. If you read them, what was their take? 750, 950 of robbing banks. They're petty. Capone never heard of them. Only Madden never heard of them. Dutch Flagenheim I never heard. Never. But we heard of them because of a movie, and that's how powerful a movie is.
Reed Hadley was Jesse James. John Ireland was Robert Ford. And Sam invested their relationship with something unheard of in Westerns, a fairly obvious homoerotic undertone.
Well, go ahead, Bob. What are you waiting for? There's my back. And scrub it.
And so I learned the power of the camera is exactly like bold-faced type. You cannot compete with it.
There's something feminine in Jesse's fussing, something teasing, enticing, and infuriating about him.
No, sir. Nothing like putting around a home.
But still there's a reward on his head and a promise of amnesty for his killer. Those are all the good official reasons Ford needs to justify killing.
He gets amnesty is for what? Is to take a man dead or alive, and that's a bad man. That's a bad man. Now, that's the psychology of the world. Not me. That's 10,000 years before the Bible. He's a bad man. So it's all right for you to do this because he's a bad man. And I wanted to make that very strong.
The song everybody likes. Jesse James was a lad that killed
Crime offers more unexpected rewards, notably a primitive, dangerous celebrity.
They were brave, but the dirty little coward, what shot Mr. Howard, has laid Jesse dead in his grave. 'Cause it was Robert Ford, the dirty little cow. Anything wrong, mister?
I'm Robert Ford.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Ford. I didn't know.
So everybody likes it, huh?
Oh, nobody likes it very much, Mr. Ford.
Go on, sing it.
Oh, please, Mr. Ford.
I want to hear it.
I never liked that song, mister. That is something I heard all my life. I never liked that. I never what we call an apology. You say, why did you burn down that orphanage? I never liked that man.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
Sam introduces a theme that would become a Western staple, the notorious gunman who becomes a target for fame-hungry punks.
Don't shoot! I want a bullet!
Why pick me for target practice?
You shot Jesse James. Anybody would shoot you becomes the biggest gunman in the country.
Don't shoot, I'm out of bullets is the most famous line to me. Don't shoot, I'm out of spears. Don't shoot, I'm out of a sword. Don't shoot, I'm out of a javelin. I'm out of a club. I'm out of a stone. That's caveman now. Don't attack, I have no rock. That's what I wanted to get in. The hypocrisy of all people is when they're armed, they never say don't shoot, they shoot.
This was an idea Sam stated more forcefully and verboten. It's one of the several big things soldiering taught him.
Nick Jason, no ammunition! Pretty, don't shoot! No ammunition! Throw your weapon out! Now! Now come out with both your hands on your head. Verstehen? I'm coming! Pretty, don't shoot! No rifle, no bullets! I'm coming!
So how can you have a law not to shoot a man just because he runs out of bullets? You don't do that. You give up. Nick Shisson, you come up with your hands on your head, not this way, like this. On my side, you drop your slice, you drop your Bowser, your rifle. He'll go over and pick up your rifle. And if he finds one bullet in there, you're going to live. You really gave up. But if he finds it empty, you gave up because you have no more bullets. He blow your head off. Now, that's the truth. Yeah. Nothing is ever written about these things.
Sam was proud that he made the first film about the Korean War while it was still going on. This main title looks like an abstraction, but there's a man beneath the helmet. He was played by a Fuller favorite, Gene Evans. And he was a Fuller kind of hero, hard-bitten and unillusioned.
That armor around him I saw was so honest, as far as we know what honesty is, emotional honest.
I found a dead American.
You sure he's dead? You gotta be sure, you know.
Half his head is gone.
I better check. Said his head was gone, save his strength.
Did you examine him?
No, sir.
Smart.
Did you get his dog tags?
Dog tag, you kidding?
But we ought to find out who he is.
Look, Lieutenant. Don't let their emotions get the best of you. Dead man's none but a corpse. Nobody cares who he is now.
Now that's real. I like that man in life. Oh, yeah. You'll never be worried that he's going to tell you the wrong thing or is trying to figure. He's only thinking of your survival. Do you understand? Yes, real. You may not like that personality at all. You certainly don't want to go on a weekend with him or anything like that. When he says, don't worry about the dog tag. Nobody cares. That means Mama, Papa, it's all baloney. They'll cry for 5 minutes. They'll forget him, or 20 years later they'll talk about it. But he's dead. You're not doing him any good by going over that.
Get his dog tags.
Yes, sir.
By the way, he's right. I'll tell you why.
Ever hear of a body being booby-trapped?
Get his dog tags. Big deal.
The officer, he told a soldier, go and check to see who that is. Now, he cost the life of that man. Now, nobody should cost you your life but the enemy.
A Buddhist temple, symbol of serenity and peace, soon to be shattered by a typically brutal Fuller irony. In his movies, profane war never respects sacred place or tradition.
Now listen, I don't want any of you to disfigure these walls. Touch the guards or break anything. I want you to leave this temple exactly as you found it.
The minute the order is given, it's disobeyed, hinting at greater desecrations about to come.
In a Buddhist temple, everything we're trying our best to get away from, that we're the bad people. Now, the People's World and the Daily Worker had me on page 1. Magnificent, everything except the last half of the picture. They said the last half, this is in there in English, was financed by General Douglas MacArthur. Firefight lasts 2-3 minutes, that's all. A real firefight. 20 minutes is unusual. 20, 15, that's because there's too much smoke we can't see. People die very quickly, wounded very quickly. Forget movies even. Even if I prolong it, it's trying to establish a character, and I hate it even when I'm shooting it.
Death in a Sam Fuller movie is always an omnipresent possibility. Yet it always comes as an astonishment, too.
When it's all over, after a fight, you're always hungry or thirsty. They're resting. There's a battle and they rest. And one guy says, I'm hungry. And the other guy says, me too. Now that's dog face.
I'm hungry. Me too.
Me too.
First we'll eat, then we'll bury him.
That is something that's harsh. It could be called rude, too. It is rude as far as humanity is concerned. But humanity is rude from birth. All of it. Otherwise there'd be no war. There'd be no conniving. There'd be no spy.
Sam's very next film, Fixed Bayonets, was also set in Korea. It was about a small detachment of Americans assigned to fight a rearguard action. Like all of Sam's soldiers, they're ordinary, unheroic guys responding to the call of a mysterious, never fully explained duty.
The average soldier were clerks and truck drivers and insurance men, young delivery men. That's what they were. They were never combat. I try to get as close as possible to the roughness without exaggeration. This is not the tough guy from Victor McLaughlin tough guy or What Price Glory. They're not tough guys that sit around and talk about the women and drinking and all that and go into bars and fight.
Why should they blow them bugles?
Sometimes it's to herald their armed approach. Mostly it's to confuse and frighten us. It's a psychological trick.
I saw this, and I felt the same way. All of us hesitate for a second. There's no such thing as cowards and all that. Everybody's a coward. Everybody is brave. It's what happens at the moment when you do something.
Richard Basehart's corporal is in command. All the officers have been killed. Now he must kill the hard way, face to face.
That character represents something that Zanuck liked very much. This man cannot kill. It's got nothing to do with cowardice. He cannot kill anybody he is looking at. It has nothing to do with cowardice. I've been with a guy 100, 150 yards away. He's right there, and he'll shoot him. He sees a man. But he doesn't see that look. He does not see. Very important. What I'm telling you is real now. It's so real that it's horrifying. And when he does it, that's an accident. He's squeezed by accident in my script, and I shot it like that. That's an accident. He killed the forward man in front of a tank. They opened fire. They blew up the tank.
I thought you'd never fire. I gotta hand it to you, Corporal. That took guts.
They all congratulate him, and he says nothing. And then he says, "That's a hell of an ending." He doesn't say it was an accident.
By 1952, Sam was off the B-picture margin, directing at a major studio. Jane Peters is being tailed by the FBI. She's unknowingly carrying military secrets. Richard Widmark is the pickpocket who also doesn't know he's stealing information vital to American security.
That one was okayed by Zanuck. I said, I'd like to get these 2 or 3 anti-social characters on a precipice of crime. Now, to me, a pickpocket is no real criminal. He's an artist. An informer, yes, she could be a criminal, but that's her job. And the girl, too dumb to be a hooker, too dumb to be a mistress, could never become a madam, do something for a dress. I know girls like that. So if you want to use her as a courier, you give her a few dollars, buy some dresses. He said, that's great. I love those characters. Now, who do we root for? And that's why I gave him the credit. I said, what do you mean root for? I said, well, he says, these are 3 horrible characters, but they're so fascinating. It'll be good on the screen. Who now is your leader? I said, they are. And that's the first time he okayed anything like that. He okayed a movie where the people had no taste.
The setting was as unique as the story, which was one of the most complicated and morally ambiguous that Sam ever wrote.
I knew a fellow lived like that on the Hudson. And no rent. They used to have little shacks like that along the river. I don't know who owned it. Maybe the city, but they never tore it down. I slept there a lot of times. And keeping beer like that, he had the cheapest Frigidaire in the world, but it was a great place to hide his stuff.
Pickup on South Street was full of typical Fuller characters. You could appeal to them only through self-interest. The microfilm is meaningless to Widmark's Skip McCoy, so is dubious Cold War idealism.
We had 2 meetings, Zanuck, J. Edgar Hoover, and me, in Romanoff's restaurant. Hoover was against the picture.
We've been following this girl for months. And just as we were about to grab a top red agent, receiving the film from her, you broke up the ball game. Now, can't you see how important this is? We just want your cooperation, and the charges against you will be dropped. Isn't that right, Captain?
You know, I'd like to make this rap stick, but what he's got to do is more important.
Well, you boys are talking in the wrong corner. I'm just a guy keeping my hands in my own pockets.
If you refuse to cooperate, you'll be as guilty as the traitors that gave Stalin the Ava.
Are you waving a flag at me?
What he didn't like is for the man to say, for Widmark to say, don't wave the flag at me. Now, my first line was, don't wave the goddamn flag at me. And he contacted, when he was in Washington, Zanuck. He said, I don't like that. So Zanuck said, yeah, let's go soft on this. What the hell? So when we had the luncheon, he's not going to say, don't wave the goddamn flag. And he's going to say, don't wave the damn flag at me. He says, you're getting away from the point. I don't want an American in this Cold War to an audience to say to anyone, especially to the cops, don't wave that flag at me. And Zanuck said, that's his character. That's his character. That stays.
Hi, mister. One last time, mister. Latest sit-down of creation.
Sam gave the great character actress Thelma Ritter one of her best screen roles.
I'm going to stay in business long enough to feed this kitty.
How's she doing?
Getting fat. I got almost enough to buy the stone and the plot.
If you lost that kitty, it's Potter's Field.
This I do not think is a very funny joke, Captain Tiger.
I just meant you ought to be careful how you carry your bankroll.
Look, Tiger, if I was to be buried in Potter's Field, it'd just about kill me.
We have a caste system, snobs. And you can't go to that club, the wrong religion or the wrong skin. You can't eat there, you can't do that. You can't even be buried now. I thought it would be brilliant. I know he loved it. But this woman doesn't say what she does. Her camouflage, her cover is selling ties. And she has spent money every week or every month. She's put down a down payment on a cemetery where they have to screen you. That's how low we've sunk in civilization, where they want to screen you and your background before you dare defile this ground.
How much did Mo get out of you? Huh? I figure you shelled out about $50 to find me. If I know Mo. Huh? Now, Mo's all right. She's got to eat.
Here is Thelma Ritter being a stool pigeon, always arguing with the cops for the more money. And she sells a fellow that's like her son. She saw him grow up. But her job, her profession is stool pigeon. She gets money from the police department. It's got nothing to do with him. He never gets mad at her. That's her job. We can't find that anywhere else in the world. They respect what you do, and they never question it. And don't you question them. That's it. The part played by Richard Paley. He's a communist agent. A communist agent does not mean he's a communist or a red. The man sitting there with the cigar, he's the communist in there.
Get that film.
A communist agent is a man who, for $1, will do what I want on Monday. And Tuesday, if you want to use him, he becomes your agent. I wanted to be very, very authentic about it, because I met agents that will work for anyone. They didn't give a damn.
Look, I haven't got a lot of time.
You haven't got a lot of time. Listen, mister, when I come in here tonight, you've seen an old clock running down. I'm tired. I'm through. Happens to everybody sometime. Will happen to you too someday. With me, it's a little bit of everything. I have backaches and headaches. I can't sleep nights. It's so hard to get up in the morning and get dressed and walk the streets, climb the stairs. I go right on doing it. Well, what am I going to do, knock it? I have to go on making a living so I can die.
Only Mo, the professional informer, is allowed a grace note. She won't reveal where Skip and the microfilm are.
So I don't get to have the fancy funeral after all. Anyway, I tried. Look, mister, I'm so tired. You'd be doing me a big favor if you'd blow my head off.
And that's the woman who had her head blown off because of him. That's the woman who sold him to the cops for $50. That's the woman whose life was snuffed out. Same guy for him.
Run of the Arrow begins with an ending. A weary rider, Ralph Meeker, is about to receive the last shot fired in the Civil War. His rebel enemy is Rod Steiger.
I learned something I'm trying to pass on. That don't talk about it. And this is what I don't like about a lot of people that make pictures. Show it. Do what you can't do on the stage or on radio or with a written word. Show it. 2 words.
Sam tops himself in this scene's staging. Any hungry soldier might steal a fallen foe's food, but only a Sam Fuller soldier would use his body as a picnic table. But the Union soldier is only wounded. He'll live to duel Steiger to the death on the post-war Western frontier.
That shows you how hungry they are. That's why they're losing. When a man has to resort to eating food from somebody he shot and then picking up the still lit cigar, there's no food, there's no smoke. That to me is a symbol. I don't want to go into symbols when I was doing it, but instead of saying you're losing, I show it.
Sam showed another side of himself in what may be the most outrageous Western of all time. The film was 40 Guns. Ostensibly, it's a range war Western. Big cattle rancher fighting against the smaller homesteaders for control of the grazing ground. But Sam twisted a standard tale savagely. Those 40 Guns are more than mere cowboys. They're mounted soldiers in the war. They're corruption's enforcers. They work not for a cattle baron, but for Barbara Stanwyck's cattle baroness.
When I read a book, it's a trick. Any book. I read the last line. If it's not a finished sentence, if it continues, before I turn the page, I read again. And I make up. I just guess what he's going to say. I got the flow of thought. I got his continuity of mental approach. I've got it, the writers. And I turn the page, and it's nothing that I had in mind, and I love it.
This classic Western walk-down is between John Erickson, playing Stanwyck's no-good brother, and Barry Sullivan, the new gun in town. It comes to a distinctly unclassic but very Sam Fuller conclusion.
And that's how I want to do a picture. I don't want you to see what you know you're going to see, or what you expect. That's it.
Would you gentlemen excuse us, please?
40 Guns might just as well have been called 40 Studs. It's that rare thing, a Western as erotic as it is deadly.
I'm not interested in you, Mr. Linnell. It's your training. And I feel it. Just curious.
Might go off in your face.
I'll take a chance. And I've broken my brother's skull.
Yeah, good habit, I tried.
I suppose I should be grateful you weren't hired to kill him.
I don't kill for hire.
I'm sure you don't kill for fun.
I'm sure you're sure.
I like something where somebody should feel a little uncomfortable the way they feel about you. That's what I like. Because that's the whole beautiful part about a movie. It's entertainment, but at the same time, it's highly emotional.
An innocent frontier wedding.
Aren't you gonna kiss the bride, Grit?
In Fuller, not even the sacraments are safe from violence. Sam stages this death so it mimics the joyful bridal embrace this couple will now never know.
Violence to me should be emotional, as far as I'm concerned. I like it inside, not a bar fight. I don't like, that's too easy. A kid can have Wayne come in and clean up a group of men in a saloon, and I think that, to me, that's a joke.
Sam had one more twist to try.
What are you afraid of, Grit? Come on out!
Zanuck said she must not die. We've been making pictures for years, and the hero does not kill the heroine. I'm just telling you. And he said been done 1,000 times. You've seen that in High Noon. And at a very vital moment, Kelly pushes the guy away, and that's when Cooper shoots him. Now, how can she push him away? He's holding it with an iron grip. And he's got that gun like this. Nothing will push away. Okay, we're up against the same thing, but that's not my story. This one is. That man hasn't used a gun in 10 years. I wanted to bring that out, and I did. When he picks up a gun, it's to kill. If that was his mother shielding that guy, he'd kill her mother. Because he is a gun, and he doesn't want to use a gun. He never wants to use a gun. That's why he slams the guy with him on the head. He will not use. If he picks up that gun, he's going to kill.
Let's see you shooting. I'm killed. I'm killed.
So when he shoots her, and she falls, and he shoots the guy, that's what I shot. And then I said, wait a minute, woo. You cannot kill the heroine. Believe me when I tell you, it's wonderful. I like the picture, but you cannot shoot her. I said, he's not himself. He's a gun. He says, yes, I agree with you. He said, as a favor to me, I don't want to go behind your back. As a favor to me, do something. We get a line and even add something. You made your point. She was shot. That's good.
So she had her studio-decreed resurrection, but it looked, as Sam intended, pasted on.
Miss Drummond, what are you doing out of bed? You know what Doc Hudson said.
I'm all right, Mr. Cashman.
Now get back to your room right now, Miss Drummond. The doc said not to let you out of the hotel.
Thank you very much, but I'll be all right.
Sam was not so all right. The 60s found him remarginalized, making quickies like Shock Corridor about a newsman who has himself committed to a mental hospital in order to write an expose.
The picture was made in 10 days. One set, no exterior. Now, that's what I mean. I could go into a city, I could go to a street, I could go to a big building, and it says mental hospital. What for?
What he finds is more horrendous than he imagined. Supposed to be an American microcosm, Shock Corridor had to include the virulent racism of the time. It was its spokesman, played by Harry Rhodes, who astonished.
Listen to me, Americans. America for Americans.
We got to throw rocks and hurl bombs.
Black bombs for black foreigners.
So they like hot music, do they?
But we'll give them a crescendo they'll never forget. Burn that freedom bus. Burn those freedom riders. Burn any man who serves them at a lunch counter. And show those rabble-rousers they can't breathe our white air and go to school with our white children. America for Americans!
America for Americans!
Keep our schools white!
Keep them white! That's right! Keep them white!
That speech was made by United States senators and congressmen of the South. Some I heard and some I read. Some I heard and some I read.
The Naked Kiss probably has Sam's best tabloid lead. Constance Towers' hooker getting revenge on her cheating pimp. But wait, there's more. She's also revenging a sadistic act.
Well, that's the shocker. I don't want to say she's an honest whore. She beats the hell out of him. He's semi-conscious. She takes out his roll, takes out what's due to her, and throws the rest of the money in his face. That shows you her character.
I'm not rolling you, you drunken leech. I'm taking only the $75 that's coming to me.
That, to me, is a good way to open the pictures of the whore. He's a pimp. He's a thief. And a pimp. It's so low, both physically and visually, and hopefully with excitement, that it's a sweeping contrast to the town she comes to.
Kelly needs to change her life. What better place to do so than a small town which celebrates and lives by the most basic American virtues? Maybe she should have noticed what the local theater's playing. She thinks she's stepping out of big city corruption into a world of respectability, of old-fashioned innocence.
And finds out that they're hypocrites.
C-A-T, cat. K-I-T-T-E.
She gets a job working with handicapped children in the local hospital. Better still, she falls in love with the town's leading citizen, after whose family Grantville is named. But something's wrong. Her past experience warns her of something unspoken, something terrible in her lover's embrace.
She felt so dirty with this man. Where in any other society they wouldn't look at her. She's dirt.
Tell me why, honey dear, are there tears in your eyes?
The discovery. Her lover is a child molester. The Naked Kiss is the first generally released movie to take up this topic.
My darling, our marriage will be a paradise because we're both abnormal.
That's what made her blow her top. He says, you will understand. Dragging him down to her level, and he's not just a pervert and all that, but he's a child molester pervert.
After a hearing, Kelly is not charged with murder. The town confronts her ambiguously, but she's learned the basic Fuller lesson. Mistrust appearances, especially pious ones.
She wants to go back to the clean, fresh breath air of whoring, of a big city. Because this is a symbol. Now, in little towns, we didn't do any business at all.
World War II was the problem, the frustration that haunted Sam. It had been the shaping experience of his life. He had been trying to make a film about it since the 1950s. He finally got his chance. The Big Red One was released in 1980. It starred Lee Marvin in a great, laconic performance.
Why are we always sent out? It's the only damn squad in the whole U.S. Army?
Yeah, where's the rest of the army?
There are 8 patrols checking the villages for die-hard snipers. Anybody wants a transfer, just let me know.
I want a transfer.
Okay, Betcha. You're transferred to the point.
I need a man who can go over those 18 or 20 years gracefully except facially. I want a tired man from World War I. I want a man who's sapped out of everything, but above all, a man who represents death, gaunt, bony.
Out in the sights all the time.
All the time.
Just wanted to see me sweat.
It's punishment for transferring me to the point. May I rejoin the rear echelon now?
You are transferred back to the point.
And I'm very happy because to me he was cast right. He was wise, he was experienced, and he was cold.
Where's my helmet?
In every Fuller War movie, there are lost, abandoned children. The only sentiment he permits himself is about them.
The crowds are going to spot that garden a mile away.
I like the smell.
Before you take an area, they collaborate with bombs and artillery shells. Then we move in. And we're supposed to eliminate the human people. Generally, it's abandoned. The only thing you'll find are old men, old women who couldn't make it. So, dead animals, dead baby, or a living baby, or a child. Abandoned in all that confusion, smoke and all that. Just picture how tough that is for people, 150, 200 people in the village. Generally, we always had a kid somewhere. Coming up from the rubble, coming up from so-and-so. That's it. So that to me is the only contact we have with civilians when we fight. And usually it's an abandoned child or his parents are killed. Doesn't have to be abandoned. They get lost because they run. They're running like hell. It's not giving you a warning. And that to me is with every infantryman has that everywhere. Children are forgotten, or orphans, completely like that, you see. So it's very normal. That's why I like a kid in the picture.
It was a tough, under-financed shoot. But after an 8-year exile from feature films, Sam was back in his element, telling his own story, which included 3 beachhead D-Days. On Omaha Beach, the awful reality of war temporarily overwhelms Mark Hamill's character. He is remobilized by his sergeant. Like all Sam's non-coms, he's a hard, simple man, therefore a man you can trust.
A sergeant of a rifle squad, he is dealing with you. He says to you, go over behind that rock, and you're going, and your head is blown right off. Your head can come right over us, right there. You go over. He is with it. He is in it. He has to be a little bit weirdo. I don't think you know what I mean. You are sending, it's not sending them to that. You are ordering it. Now, if you don't do it, he'll shoot you. Right there. And you don't, it's not if you don't do it. If you don't do it now, that's what you're trained.
Yet there were sweeter moments. Sam's beloved mom had sent one of his manuscripts to a publisher. With the result, Sam, played by Robert Carradine, shows.
That's my book. Your book? Yeah. What do you mean, your book? I got this from the Rebel Depot in San Lo.
I wrote it, babyface.
And I printed it.
The Big Red One isn't so much anti-heroic as non-heroic. It is about soldiering on, and about the fact that by some miracle, Sam and his anonymous buddies all survived 3 years of combat when so many did not.
Would you look how fast they put up the names of all our guys who got killed?
That's a World War I memorial.
But the names are the same.
They always are.
This does not mean they were immune to griping, self-pity, or absurdity.
When they're going to knock off a German observation post on the roof of the insane asylum in Belgium, and the young fellow, Mark Hamill, says to Lee Marvin, "What the hell do we have to go in there? What the hell do we have to go in there? Why the hell don't they mortar the goddamn thing? Why the hell are we go? This is real infantry. Why should we go in there?"
The regiment figures there's a railway gun that's been chopping them up. Forward observers in a monastery right here.
Well, why the hell don't we shell it?
Yeah, just put a couple bombs on it.
Well, it's really not a monastery, and it's an asylum for retards and insane people.
I say the division should bomb it.
Well, there are insane people there. And the kid says, "Insane, yeah. You mean it's wrong for us to kill insane people?" That's right, it's wrong. But it's okay to kill sane people? Yes, now that's war. You feel the whole world has forgotten you. There's very little of an outside world visually or morally, and never through dialogue. Ever. There's no such thing as "I heard from my mother and I got a baby." Nobody talks like that in a war. They want to live and they only think of one thing. Only one thing: to live, 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 live. Nothing else. Nothing.
But this was World War II, and eventually these soldiers would confront what they never expected to confront: the absolute evil of the concentration camps. No one had prepared them for it, but it was the end of their innocence. It was the end of everyone's innocence. Sam and his unit were among those who liberated Falkenau in Czechoslovakia. These are the pictures Sam took there with his own 16mm camera. These images, his indelible memories, naturally informed not just the Big Red One, but his whole hard, yet never cynical vision of human nature.
Including to the end of the Big Red One. It's the first time you find out all the countries Hitler took is only when Marvin is trying to find out who the kid is.
June. Oh.
The scene offers more than information. It states, almost wordlessly, the film's meaning.
So it's an honest way to show what the people are like, what they represent without a big speech, that's all.
The sergeant was also a surrogate for Sam, an older, wiser, more battered Sam. Like all great war movies, The Big Red One is finally an anti-war movie. But so long dreamed of, so often delayed, it is even more than that. It is Sam Fuller's great legacy and testament. It is above all a survivor's testament. He had lived through a great war, his spirit and humor intact. There was nothing more life could throw at him, and his life was rarely easy or comfortable that he could not endure. The critics called Sam primitive and barbarous. One way or another, his movies were battlegrounds. He almost never had the time or money to fully realize his intentions, but his tabloid journalist's nose for scandalous truth, his wide-eyed street kid's love for the outrageous and courageous rarely failed him. He spoke to and for an unofficial, often unheeded America. Giving joyful voice to its viscera, he gave voice to its instinctive understandings as well.
That's it. A director takes a song, a few scenes is a song, lyric, and he makes a symphony out of it. That's what I mean. And he hasn't lost the kernel of it. Does that make sense to you?